Today I'm taking you behind the scenes to break down exactly how I film cinematic shots at sports games. What's going on? My name is Peter Sarellas. I'm a videographer and editor from Toronto, Canada, and I specialize in sports videography. And today I want to go over some of my favorite shots from the Canadian Football League season so far and break down exactly how I got them, what equipment I'm using, what settings I'm using, why I'm using that equipment, where I positioned myself on the field and my logic behind it, and my thought process as I'm going through the entire shot. So we're gonna do some game action shots and some that are like more like pre-game, the atmosphere and action around the game, but not the actual game itself. All these shots are colored with my football video LUT pack, which is available on my website, www.petersarellas.com. That's going to be linked in the description, courtesy of course to the CFL, who I shot all of these clips for. And yeah, let's get to it. So this is the first shot we're working with here. Now for this shot, I was filming with the Sony FX3 handheld with the Tamron 28-75mm f2.8, filming at f2.8. I filmed in 4K 120 frames per second with a 1/320 shutter speed, and my ISO was 12,800. The first question you're probably asking is, Peter, why were you filming football with a 28-75? The fields are huge. And you're right. But my goal for this game, and my goal for a lot of the games I've filmed over the course of this year so far, hasn't been to capture game action. Like, don't get me wrong, I definitely do shoot the game. But a lot of what I've been doing so far this season is capturing really good fan shots. And this game was a sellout. It was absolutely packed, as you saw from the shot. And I wanted to make sure that I was capturing wide shots of the crowd going nuts when big moments happened. So I was walking around with a wide lens on so that I could zoom out and get that perspective. But 75mm is still tight enough that I can punch in and get some sort of depth of field if I need it. So this shot, I wasn't really getting myself in position to film action necessarily. I was filming some fan shots for the crowd that's behind where the camera's looking right now. But it just so happened that the play looked like it could have been coming at me, so I turned around and just started recording as this was happening. So then I just got a wide shot of the play happening, the quarterback running out, and at this point I'm just following the ball. And I just get fortunate that the pass comes over into a guy right in front of me. So then I just obviously am going to lock right in on him. And at this point I'm just ball tracking, and I just happen to have a great lens on for this. He runs right past me, and this is in 120 frames per second. So this part right here with the crowd absolutely full cheering and him holding out the ball is like the money shot of this. So right here is where I'm going to want to add a speed ramp and lower this to 20% speed. And we're probably going to want to keep it in slow motion until probably about here. So then we're going to add a cut in the audio. Let's bring this down to 20% since we're filming at 120 frames per second. And then with the audio 20% speed, Command Shift and D. So we can automatically crossfade these, and let's extend that transition out a little bit. And now we kind of get this nice slow bit right as this player is going by the crowd. And I think it's really nice to place emphasis on this to show how packed this stadium is. And then right here, the player stops right here, looks into his team photographer's camera and starts yelling, which is a great shot for that guy, but doesn't really do me any good. So I kind of have two options at this point. I can choose to stay here and pick off this shot of the main player looking away from me and shoot it wide and get all the fans cheering in the background, which is a good shot. But I noticed this photographer is kind of heading over here and could block me, and these two guys with the flags are going to like run past this way along the back like end zone, and they could block my shot. And I already have right over here a really good shot of this player running and the crowd going crazy. So it's kind of redundant to just shoot that again. So I start to make my way over to the actual player here, and I eventually, if my computer wants to hurry up alongside with me, get there. And then I get this celebration shot right here. Obviously my lighting has changed a bit, so at this point I would probably want to bring the highlights down a little bit to look a little bit more like that. But then I get these celebration shots. And between those three guys all celebrating with him, like that is enough if I want to cut to a celebration shot after this touchdown that like I have a good one to cut to. So that's the shot. And honestly, I think this is one of my favorite touchdown shots of the year, even though I shot it in week 1, just because of the perspective. You don't usually film game action on a wide lens and get the action running at you like that. I got fortunate here that that's basically what happened. I wish the guy would have ran to my lens and yelled. He didn't. That's fine. But I still am really happy with the shot. I think it shows the grandeur of the event. And yeah, it's just a good one. Now the next shot that we have is an entrance shot. And this was filmed also on the Sony FX3, but using a monopod and with the Sony 100 to 400mm f4.5 to 5.6 lens. It was filmed in 4K 120 with a 1/400 shutter angle. And my ISO was 12,800. And in case you're wondering why I'm shooting at ISO 12,800, ISO 12,800 is the higher of the dual base ISOs on the Sony FX3, which means your image really cleans up at that specific ISO. So unless it's really bright outside and I can shoot at ISO 800, then I'm usually going to leave an ND filter on my camera and keep it at 12,800 and then adjust other settings to compensate as needed type of thing. So for this shot, I had like backed up basically to midfield and I'm shooting this and they're coming out of the end zone. So this would be like right at 400 mil that I'm shooting this shot. And the reason I'm filming entrances like this is, one, if the crowd behind these guys is like really, really full and I want to get a super wide shot, I can pull out to 100 mil and get that shot. And 100 mil seems very telephoto, but when you're 50 yards, or I guess the end zone's 20 yards. So when you're 70 yards away, 100 mil still gives you like a really wide perspective. But then I can zoom into 400 and get this nice, tight, compressed shot. And like I've filmed entrances at BC Place before, so I know that I'm going to get these lights flashing and all the smoke. Like I knew it was going to look good and I was ready for that. And at this point here, I'm just kind of seeing who's going to run at me. I've already got a good shot of the whole group together that I can use if I ever need a shot of this team for anything really. And I just want to see, of all these guys, like I'm just assuming one of them is going to run at me just because there's so many of them, and want to see which person it is. So it becomes pretty evident right about here. The number 24 is running at me, so I just lock right in on him and start following him. And then right here, he gives me a really good emotional shot. So I've kind of got him isolated from the background. We got a bunch of fans in the back cheering. The lights are all going off. And he's just jumping at my camera, which looks great. And then he goes past me, and at this point, I can't really follow him. Like I'm going to be filming his back, and he's going to be going away from me. It's not really going to be any better than the shot that I already have. So I just turn around to look for a different shot, see if there's anything. And at this point, everyone's already out. There's not really any shots to grab. And that's about it. Now, I thought about filming this shot wide. You can see there's like enough fans to make it work, but I just didn't like this stairwell right here, because like obviously you can't get fans like sitting on the stairwell. It doesn't make sense. But it does make it look a little bit empty when the place isn't like absolutely jam-packed. And there was actually like a concert that happened pregame like for 40 minutes. So a lot of the fans who had come to this game, which was actually like basically sold out, left to go to the washroom and like get concessions and stuff during entrances. So like it wasn't really the play to like shoot the stands when I knew that there's going to be opportunities to get them more full than they currently were. So I just kind of like went tight on the players here. But either way, still a good shot. I'm happy someone actually did run at me, because like it happens sometimes where like you film a shot like this, you're waiting for someone to run at you, and then like no one comes at your camera. And like that's just unpredictable, you know, like you really don't know if that's going to happen or not. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, would have seen this shot and some of the other ones in this video as well ahead of time. So if you want to kind of see my stuff first and chat about it over there, make sure to follow my Instagram. All right, now we're going to bring it back to another action shot. So this shot was filmed on a very, very rainy day in Montreal. It was like a 2-hour rain delay because of a thunderstorm, and then I just got absolutely soaked for a full football game. But this shot was filmed on the FX3 handheld with the Sony 100 to 400mm f4.5 to 5.6 at f5.6, just like the previous shot. It was filmed in 4K 120 with a 1/250 shutter. I didn't overcrank because I actually legitimately needed to shoot at a 180-degree shutter angle for like light purposes. And my ISO was at 12,800, which is the higher of the dual base ISOs on the FX3, as we discussed. So for this shot, I was standing at the back of the end zone on the left-hand side, and I got there pretty early, so I was kind of already set up for this shot before the play was even close to starting. And I saw the cheerleaders walking at me, so I figured, like, I'm already here, my camera's already set up, I'm good for this shot. Let me just pick off a quick shot of these cheerleaders, because what else am I filming right now? And I'm getting this shot, and I kind of look at them like, hey, are you going to stop, or are you just going to walk in front of my shot? And they kind of look at me and like, yep, we're walking here. And they just keep on walking. So we'll see how that plays out. So then I turn back to get the shot. I'm handheld, so pardon the shakiness. But here we go, we're locked in. We get the shot. And I'm just staying locked on the quarterback. And my goal here is going to be to follow the ball through the air to the receiver. And I'm just kind of hoping that he comes at a receiver that is like coming towards my camera, and based on his eyes right now, it looks like he is. So at this point, I get pretty excited. Then we get the throw. There's the receiver. We know the ball is coming in. It's literally a straight line at my camera, which is exactly what I want. And then we get the cheerleaders all walking in front of the camera, which is not ideal, but we do actually get the shot. And then I try my best here to follow the player and like get a close-up of his celebration. This game was not the most full because there was a 2-hour rain delay and it was miserable outside, so I wasn't really trying to like get the crowd in the back. Plus this is the away team, so it's not going to get a good reaction out of the crowd anyways. So I wanted to go tight on him, and then right here as he's about to jump up with his teammate, the ref is in the way. Super inconvenient, but also something that just happens. Like I zoom out and don't really get it. So like we're in focus like here, and then we're in focus again. Like at this point we're zooming out. We don't really have a shot there. We're kind of in focus again like here. So you get like when he's first jumping zoomed in, and then you get the end as he's falling out, but you don't really get the middle because we kind of got obstructed a little bit. And then you get a little bit of a celebration shot here. You put this in 120 frames per second, put it in at 20% speed. Like you can definitely take this shot and use it as a celebration shot for this touchdown. And I think it looks super cool with all the rain. Like that looks great. So you can just take that part and use it, and that's totally fine. But looking back at the actual catch here, when you watch it back fast, without knowing that like these cheerleaders were running at me, you don't really know what this is walking in front of my screen here. Like you're not paying much attention to it. And realistically, this is just like covering the screen black. So you can look at it as like a negative where my shot got blocked, but also this is perfect for like a fade to black transition. Like if I wanted to do like a masking transition or something, I can mask one shot and like cover the camera black and then come out and just be here with this receiver. So if I want to, I can just put this part right here where he catches the ball at 20% speed. And then we're going to speed up past my camera getting walked through. And then we can put it back into slow-mo again if we want after that. %, speed. And 20% speed. And this is the shot. There's the catch, exactly what we need. And if you play this back, you get the throw, you get the ball in the air, and then you get slow motion. There's the catch, looks great. And then the player runs past. And then we get the celebration as I showed you. So although the shot got crossed and you would think that's unusable, I actually think it's super usable. And if you just take that splice where he catches the ball in the rain and then mask in and mask out using the people walking across your frame, it actually works really well. So I'm kind of psyched on this, and I'm really looking forward to using this specific shot in an edit. So this last shot here is an anthem shot. So like after the teams run out, but before the game starts when they're singing the national anthem. And I shot this actually not on the FX3. This is the only shot in this video that's not going to be shot on the Sony FX3. This was shot on the Sony a7 IV with the Sony 20mm f1.8 lens at f3.2, since I just don't need to shoot this at 1.8 and the lens sharpens up as you stop it down. It's shot at 4K 60 frames per second with a shutter of 1/500, so very overcranked, with an ISO of 800, which is the lower of the dual base ISO on the Sony a7 IV. My logic for the Anthem shots is to just go through and, one, get wide shots of the whole crowd standing, of all the players next to each other, and two, lock in on specific players who will either react well to camera or are star players on their team to try to get a good emotion shot that can set the scene for the game. So if we kind of extend this clip out and look at what I was doing beforehand, we can see that like I was filming a shot of the coach, and then I made my way over to the team's star player while also kind of getting a wide shot of the crowd standing behind. So this is the star defensive player on this team. He led the CFL in sacks last year, and he's also got a good personality. So I decided we're going to lock in on him, kind of get my shot set up, and I know how much time we have left in the anthem, obviously, because it's the national anthem. So as we get to the last few lines of the anthem, I start pushing in on him, and this already here, in my opinion, is a really good shot to put in slow motion. And then he looks down and looks right up and me mugs the camera, which in slow-mo is absolutely perfect to use. And then he kind of realizes that he gave me a really good shot just there and just like gives me this look, which I kind of chuckled at in real time. And a little nod to be like, yeah, you got a good shot there. So yeah, shout out to that. Thank you. And at this point, like, I'm just staying on him because we're on the last line of the anthem and he just gave me something good. And he basically also told me that he's willing to play to the camera. So I know there's a good chance that I get something good again if I just stick with him. There's no reason for me to go running around at the last minute to find somebody else. So we're going to stay here. I kind of get low because if you look at the higher angle, you can kind of see these empty seats here. And these are empty because like the football field is over 100 yards long. And when you're sitting like at literally ground level, it's kind of hard to see what's happening 70 yards away. So people are just sitting up higher so that they can actually like get a better perspective on the game. But I don't want the look of empty seats. You know what I mean? So I kind of lower myself so that I can shoot up and get more of the people who are up here rather than these seats down there. And we've already established that this player is willing to play to the camera and give me a shot. So I get the shot. So if I'm going to make any sort of like game recap video, the audio of the best player on the team saying, let's get big, let's go, like that's super usable. And that's definitely something I'm going to want to keep in my bank for future videos that I'm editing this year. Now, when I lifted the camera as I pushed in on him here, I didn't pan the camera down. You know, gimbals can be a little finicky like that. So I would say that this player has way too much headroom in this shot right now, especially here. Like his eye line's basically like in the middle of the screen. So if I were to like reshoot this, I would kind of want it to look like this, maybe punch in 20% and then go all the way down so his headroom is more like that. I think this is a much more pleasing shot than this. So like obviously I can like digitally crop in, and this image is good enough. Like it's perfectly exposed. The colors are nice. The subject's like perfectly in focus. So like I can punch in a little bit on this and it looks good. But you know, I'd rather not have to punch in 20% to get this shot with the correct headroom. Either way, in my opinion, still a very good usable anthem shot from one of the times in a game when you want to really make sure you're picking off a lot of the good establishing shots that you need to get. Anyways, if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel because I post videography and video editing tips and tutorial videos similar to this one on a regular basis, even though this is the first time I've actually done this type of video. And on that note, if you liked me breaking down my shots, not only talking about gear and settings, but also kind of like my mindset and like what I was thinking in real time, let me know. I want to do more of these. This is the first one that I've done like this, and I've even considered doing these as live streams. So if there'd be an interest from you in me kind of talking about this, and then you asking me questions in real time and getting answers, and then consolidating that down into a video later, let me know because we can do that. And again, these shots were all colored with my football video LUT pack, which is available on my website, www.petersarellas.com, which is also linked down in the description. So anyways, that's all for this one. Till next time, peace.